I program the festival. I have the very exciting but also challenging task of selecting the writers. And you know, there's so many wonderful writers, and there's so many more fabulous writers than there are available programming spots. So that's always really difficult, and you can't ever program everybody you really want to have in the festival. Well, the biggest change, well, first of all, like behind the scenes, is that I have a team. That first year there was a really, really fantastic and supportive steering committee and a board, but we didn't really have a team. I had one or two people that I've, in fact, work with me still. Production manager has been with the festival since the first year, and but now there's year-round staff, and that makes a huge difference, of course. And every day I don't always realize how much the festival has grown. But in that first year we had 130 kids come to the youth program. Now we average over 6,000 every festival. We work for a year and a half to produce this festival every year. And there are times of the year when you just really, it's hard to keep track of why you're doing it, because there's all this reporting and administration and grant writing and raising money and everything that, you know, is just part of running an organization that obviously you have to do. But there are days when especially February, this February's not so bad because the weather's been good and it's been sunny. I thank every festival, I think this is why I do this, but just when thinking about those February blues, one year I was really at my wit's end, and I got this big package, and it was from some kids, and it was a book they'd put together of drawings and comments about what it had meant to them to come to the festival, and I thought, this is why I do this. I did run a vintage clothing store in Calgary years ago, and it was called Old Hat, and I guess there's some leftover residual something from that. But I would say, for me, I think it's important to try and have pieces that are classic, so that I'm not having to, like, they last me a long time, and everything should go together, and less is more. Wow, that's a previous life. When I went to theater school, I worked in theater, and I somehow just had a bunch of vintage clothes. And when I moved to Calgary, I was just taking a very short break from working in the theater. Short breaks sometimes end up being much longer than you think. And so I had to do something, and there wasn't a vintage store here, so I opened a vintage store.
Wow. Were you behind the scenes